So, hey guys, Chauzu here. So as expected, we got a full Zoro and King reveal today, and I'm going to give my initial impressions and an overview of their work. Main focus will be on Zoro, I guess, because we didn't get the full info on Zoro in English, at least not by the time I make this video. We did get an additional picture from JP that we will go over. But yeah, as usual, I will mainly focus on the PvE stuff here, and then when I do a deep dive on both Zoro and King, I will also cover the PvP stuff. But yeah, let's start with Zoro. And as we got a lot of what we expected with Zoro. Like, Zoro is a quick slasher free spirit as expected. Zoro has super tandem like expected, and kind of expected, like some thought maybe he get a super type that can be like a bit like Bon Clay and cover a lot of different types, or a captain action and end up being a captain action. And yeah, this Zoro is pretty interesting for sure. His captain action is Enma, and that will play a huge role when using him. And I think we start with, let's start with the special, I guess. It's basically exactly what I said Zoro will get, which is not like, wow, you're so smart. It's more like, what does the Luffy Sunny combo lack? They lacked an attack boost, so Zoro does a 3.25 times attack boost for slashing and free spirit for 2 turns. And also, Luffy Yamato could give increased damage taken. So an increased damage taken conditional will make a lot of sense, which Zoro gets. If Captain is Slash or Free Spirit, you boost damage dealt to increase damage taken enemies by 2.25 times for 2 turns. If you don't want to use Luffy Yamato, then Zoro himself can also apply increased damage taken, but we'll get into that in a bit. If character slot is Wano and special is launched, the attack multiplier of tandem slots changes to 2.25 times when slots match, which is basically the same multiplier as Wano, so tandem slots become as powerful as Wano with this special, which is pretty cool, but also a bit weird because none of this batch really gives tandem naturally, I guess. It's a bit weird. But change characters Wano slots to tandem. Oh, that's actually very interesting. I missed that. Like, I've been thinking for a long time, like, how does this Zoro unit get tandem orb? And I missed that he does it in his special. That's actually really good, because you see when we look at the Enma mechanics that it will be hard to not get Wano orbs with his Zoro. But yeah, his own Wano slots become tandem. First time ever we will be able to change an unchangeable orb, which is pretty funny. But yeah, it's a solid special. He also does some damage, which is always nice. But yeah, basically the perfect complement to the Luffy Yamato and Sanji batch at a glance. But let's get into the meat of this, which is the captain ability, and we're going to stay here for a long time. What we see here is the base captain ability. Then we have further captain abilities through the Enma captain action. But yeah, Zoro reduces strength X and quick characters CD by 2 turns at start of quest. Slash and Free Spirit gets an extra -1 CD. So very similar to have Luffy and Yamato work. This Zoro is definitely more designed to be a captain than Sanji is. Boost Slasher and Free Spirit character attack by 5.25 times, HP by 1.5 times. Makes tandem slots and matching slot effects. And if you hit against type effectiveness, so if you use Zoro who is quick against a strength unit and tap with him against a strength unit, while Zoro has recovery of tandem orb, you get a Wano orb. So that's the base effect. And basically this is all he gets in captain, so no utility or anything, and that doesn't change with the Enma. So this Zoro is mainly made to do damage, mainly Super Boss Kizuna and stuff like that. So yeah, at a glance, like, we were a bit disappointed, and I'm not going to lie, some things still make me a bit disappointed and worried in making Zoro really good for Super Boss Kizuna, but like when we just had this info, it was like, okay, you need to get like 10 Wano orbs for Enma, and then we need to like have a recover tandem orb to change your orb to Wano. Like, it sounded like a lot of busy work, but it gets a bit better when we look at what Enma does. But yeah, as said here, to enable to get Enma, we need to consume Wano orbs, and in particular we need 10 Wano orbs consumed for the max Enma effect. So with this, let's talk a bit about Enma. Oh, I moved this a bit. I love this program, Freeform I think it's called, but it's so easy to move pictures. I wish I could just lock them. Maybe it's possible, I haven't checked. But yeah, as you see here with Zoro, he has a 10 gauge. And by consuming 10 Wano orbs, you can get the full Enma captain action. The main thing is that when you use Enma, you use a lot of HP in the process. But yeah, the way Enma works is that Enma has 2 stages. The first stage you can use anytime you want, even when you've not consumed any Wano orb. And when you use this first Enma, you will take 15% damage every turn, but when you hit with type effectiveness here, you change your own orb to Wano. So if Zoro hits a strength unit when he's quick, Zoro gets a Wano orb. If Sanji, who is Dex, hits a quick unit, Sanji gets a Wano orb. So this does make it a bit more realistic to get those 10 Wano orbs. His captain ability also goes up to 5.5 times in this first stage. So that's pretty nice. This is the most worrying part. I don't understand it completely, but it appears that if your HP gets low enough, then Zoro loses his captain ability. Like in his max Enma states, his captain ability is 5.75 times. But if he gets too low HP, that 5.75 times captain ability changes to a 2 times attack captain ability. So pretty big deal. A bit worrying, but we'll have to try him out a bit more to see how big of a fear that actually is. But yeah, first we have his normal captain, then it changes here with the level 1 special. And the big deal here, as said, is that if you hit against type effectiveness, you get a Wano orb. And it also changes any recovery orb you currently have into a Wano, which is pretty dope. Otherwise, the big deal is when we consume 10 Wano orbs and we get the ultimate Enma captain action captain ability. And by doing this, we both get that 5.75 times captain ability attack boost. But also when Zoro himself taps with a Wano orb, 1, you apply increased damage taken to the enemy through full immunity 1.5 times. So even if you don't run Luffy Yamato, for example, you can get the max damage from Zoro's conditional, which is nice. But the bigger deal, I'd say, is that once Zoro is in this max Enma state, he will hit with rainbow damage to all enemies. So he will hit super effectively against anything. So even if Zoro faces a Dex unit, who he shouldn't do lots of damage with, Zoro will hit as if that Dex unit was a strength unit, and that's obviously super powerful. But the main negative here is that you take 60% HP damage every turn, so this will not last for a long time at all, especially if you combine this with Rush. Basically, you need to kill in 1 turn or this Zoro will become super weak and you lose all buffs, stuff like that. One unique effect this Zoro has is that he doubles the damage limiter. So if you get a damage limiter, you can only do 1 million damage. Zoro makes it so you can do 2 million damage. So that's pretty neat, I guess, but still worse than the OG V1 Frankie, who just ignores it entirely. This does indicate, though, that maybe we get damage limiter against Super Boss, which doesn't sound very fun, but maybe we'll get the Frankie debut against Super Boss. That would be pretty hype, at least. But yeah, my main worry with this is that it still sounds like incredible busy work to get those 10-1 orbs. Level 1 Enma helps, but it still is like anti-synergy with Sanji, since you do take damage all the time, which makes Sanji's rush later worse. So it's fun to try something different, but this batch just don't inherently give recovery and tandem orbs. Like Sanji as captain sure can give you that, but Sanji is meant to swap into captain, not be captain. Otherwise, it's just when using specials when you get these, but you want to save specials for when you get to the final stage. So not entirely sold on this Zoro, but he's definitely not a bad legend. Oh, I've been moving it again. That's so annoying. I wish I could lock them in place. Anyway, let's continue with Zoro talk. Zoro's crewmate ability, he himself gets a 1 orb as sort of quest. Would have loved if he gave it to the whole crew, but it is what it is. Zoro himself is immune to paralysis, which is incredibly niche, sometimes useful, usually not. Support is very dope. You get an self HP cut, which can be nice in some situations. You get -1 CD, and you change your orb to Wano. Only for Usopp and Frankie, but great support for both. And pretty sure this is the first -1 CD final stage support for these units. That's incredibly useful. Super Tandem and Zoro Super Tandem is basically the same as Super Tandem Nami, but slightly weaker. Nami Super Tandem gives a 2.25 times attack boost, but buffs the conditional buffs by +0.5. So if you use Super Sukofast Robin and get 2 conditionals, Nami does 0.25 more damage than Zoro. But in the grand scheme of things, that's very minor. This means that when you use Zoro Super Tandem, it's a viable replacement to Nami, so Nami is not essential in any way. So more options in team building, which is always a good thing. But yeah, overall solid kit, definitely worth owning Zoro, but he has some potential weaknesses, so I'm not sure how good he will be long term. I will definitely discuss this more in my future Zoro deep dive that will come tomorrow probably. Lots of things to think about before I make that. But with that, let's move to King, or Alber as they call him. And V2 King is driven, powerhouse, and int. Not very surprising. Super type makes sense to really make it work with Kaido, like Yak is super class, King is super types, you get both. What we did think with King was that he will get a rush, since that really lacked for this batch, but no, he got another super tandem, so Yak has super tandem, Queen has super tandem, King has super tandem. I don't know why, like sure they have some small differences, but essentially the same thing. But whatever. Overall, this unit is very good though. Like basically, if we look in a versus Kaido context, making him as good as possible, then Queen is actually better. He buffs versus Kaido a lot more. King also helps versus Kaido, but not as much. But in a vacuum, this King is absolutely nuts in general. But I think to make you understand how good he is, we need to start with captain ability, since that's the big deal, I'd say. King's captain ability, driven and powerhouse, 1.25 times HP, up to 5.5 times attack, minimum 5 times attack, depends on taps. A slightly boost chance of landing on matching orbs, changes recovery slots to Wano, pretty good, like it's the same as Kaido basically. And King himself completely ignores bind, despair, paralysis, special bind, special reverse. That's actually insane, especially considering his special later, which we look at. So King is basically immune to everything himself. He can always use his special, no matter what situation when he's captain. That's just incredible and mind-blowing, and such a cool design decision, I'd say. Not to say it like fits him especially well, but it's cool that we have some unit like this, especially considering his special, which reduces special CD for driven and power highs by 2 turns and reduces special bind. So basically, as captain, no matter what the game throws at you, you will be able to counter the special bind and special reverse combo, especially as King has fear as well. Like, not even fear will stop this King. He will remove the special bind. He will reduce the CD of the crew. That's so good. Like, that part of him is incredibly well designed, and we'll see a lot of use since that's not an uncommon combination at all. He also does a lot of damage to all enemies, changes block and type slots to character's own type. So if King has a 1 orb, everybody gets a 1 orb, basically. So you need to be a bit careful about that, because of course, if you want to use Super Tandem, you don't want everybody to have a 1 orb. So that's a bit scary as well, since King himself gives you 1 orbs randomly, and you might not want King to randomly get a 1 orb, but yeah. If Captain is a Driven or Powerhouse class, you get a plus 2.0 chain boost for 1 turn, which can't be removed, just like Queen's Color Affinity, which means that you can use King, then you use versus Kaido, you bring back King's CD, you still keep the chain boost, and you can get his extra effect, as it says. If you have a chain boost, an attack boost, and an orb boost, when you use the special, so basically after using versus Kaido special, you will get a base attack boost plus 1,500 for 1 turn, and you also get the increased chain growth rate buff, and it's a pretty good buff. The fun thing is that you have to hit perfect. Like, if you hit good or great, you get nothing, but perfect plus 0.7, that's a very high extra chain. So King is very, like, in terms of buffs, King is similar to what I suggested. The only thing we lack is like the rush and getting the super fast drop-in mechanic, which was always copium from my side. I admit that. But still very strong. But like, if you take versus Kaido in a like a super boss perspective, I don't think you'd ever want to use King special more than once, but it's definitely worth using, since otherwise you're not getting any chain buff at all. Now we at least get a very high plus 2.0 chain boost, which is not bad at all. As for the rest of the stuff, King himself is immune to blow away paralysis. I think we missed one here. He should be immune to special bind and special reverse. Yeah. So as sub, he's also basically immune to everything. Like, basically everything. No paralysis, no blow away, no special reverse, no special bind. Super cool. As support, Kaido and Queen. You get a plus 0.8 chain boost at start of final battle. Imagine if that support also said can't be removed by enemy or yourself, then basically King will maybe be better not used at all, potentially. Not really, but will have been a cool bonus, but still incredible. Like, this is one of the best chain boosting supports in terms of chain boost. Like, we of course have chain boundary supports and such. And Super Tandem, basically the same as all the rest. The thing is that this time King removes damage reduction by 3 turns instead of other debuffs, and 2.25 times driven attack boost. And the super type, I actually forgot to check this. That's so dumb. But I see right away that this makes King even better, because you do get a 1.5 times chain multiplier boost. Change character slot including block to recovery, so that's basically a 1 orb. So yeah, incredibly cool, not going to lie. Like, you get the plus 2.0 chain boost, You then use the super type to get the 1.5 times chain multiplier boost. And if you have room for it, you can use King Special again to also get the increased chain growth rate. So yeah, incredible complement to Kaido. And versus Kaido squads are now really good, especially since you can actually use the Super Soaker Fast Robin with Kaido. You just need to use Queen as captain. But yeah, that's my initial impression of the 9th Annie Legends. I don't think they disappoint. I have a lot of question marks, especially for the Zoro, but we'll see if I change my opinion after thinking about it for like a day or so. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.